Welcome back to the San Diego Opera Podcast. I'm Nic Reveles, your host, and today I'm interviewing two of the stars of our upcoming production of Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro, our Figaro, Evan Hughes, and our Count Almaviva, John Moore. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Very much delighted to have you here. And you're both debut artists for San Diego Opera, right?
Yes.
Indeed.
Never been here before?
Never,
No.
actually.
And where do you hail from, John?
I come from Iowa and I live in Minneapolis now.
And you?
I'm actually from Southern California. I come from Santa Barbara, California.
Oh.
So it's a real gift to be back in
Yeah.
SoCal.
And Santa Barbara is so beautiful.
It's not bad.
That
Yeah.
it really is a gorgeous place. Tell me a little bit about your careers. Just reading your biographies, both of you have sung some really unusual characters and been in operas that we've certainly not staged yet here in 50 years. There's some Rameau,
Yeah,
Les Galants.
Yeah. And Dario, which was pretty. That was pretty interesting insofar as we played American Indians. That was the whole
Right,
point of it. And
right.
so it was sort of interesting. And my character actually was sort of supposed to be an Obama-esque. Character that actually my entire role, except for like a few minutes, I even sang a duet with Lisette Oropeza on one of those Segway like scooters that you just stand
right.
on and move on.
Right.
So it was pretty. Sidi Larbi Shakatoui, or I think that's his name. He's a choreographer, does stuff for Beyonce, and he's sort of a big deal. It was his first shot at. I believe it was his first shot at opera in Munich, and that was really trippy for sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
challenging.
Sure. But I mean, to do an opera by Rameau, I mean,
Yeah.
who does that outside?
First time
of,
played at Staatsoper in Munich.
Yeah, and
Actually,
outside
which
of
is-
Les Arts Florissants, that
Yeah,
does
yeah.
all of those.
And it's incredible music.
Oh,
Really
it's
gorgeous
gorgeous.
music.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just
Gorgeous
beautiful,
stuff.
Yeah. I have my first Remo coming up actually this coming season.
Yeah.
And
I'm
what will you
excited
be
to get
doing?
into French Baroque land. I'm doing Platée.
Ah,
Yeah, and it's going to be really fun because Rolando Villason is actually directing it.
Oh,
so
how
it
cool.
should be a
and I
cool
would
experience
imagine-
to do that with a singer who has turned to directing.
Yeah, and is it his first gig directing?
He's done some directing before, but
I'm surprised to hear that. I didn't realize that he was doing that.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
very cool. And then you've got some Handel in your
yes, I've been doing some Baroque, and I love singing it. I did Barry Kosky's new Semele at the Komische Oper Berlin, and I've got other Handel and Vivaldi coming up. So some Baroque is making its way into my
That's fantastic.
life. Yeah.
Great. So let's talk about your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Count and Figaro.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, do you think, between the end of The Barber of Seville and The Marriage of Figaro, where you helped him find Rosina and acquire her and marry her at the end of that story, which of course the Rossini is based on. Both operas are based on these Beaumarchais plays. But then at the beginning of this opera, he's ready to steal your bride on the very
Yeah.
night of your wedding. What do you suspect?
Well, I
happened?
think that he had absolute power through his feudal right, and I think admonishing that power is not something easy for an aristocrat, and I think he has decided he wants it back. So this naturally creates a huge conflict between us,
And it cuts right through any possible friendship that there might have been when they were working together.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it feels like a betrayal for Figaro, but it becomes, it ends up becoming symbolic of the kind of rise of reason and humanity over power, over
Right.
Yeah,
corrupt
and
power.
we assume we assume because at the end of Barber of Seville things sort of work out and everyone's happy that Figaro and the Count are friends. In fact, I would say it's quite the opposite. I think that Figaro knows that the Count is the Count, and the Count knows that Figaro is Figaro. They know their
Yeah.
station.
Oh,
That's the
sure.
point.
Yeah.
And I also think that the Count wanting to sleep with Susanna has nothing to do with Figaro. and actually I don't think it has really much to do with power other than that he can use power.
Yeah.
But I think he wants to nail Susanna because she's cute and young. And he's a little bit like bored and frustrated with his boring rich wife.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the whole drama of the Barber of Seville is this aristocrat lowering himself to these sort of antics to gain the heart of a woman who he's basically infatuated with.
Right.
Right. So this like exposes the aristocrats for what they are. When they want something, they will do whatever it takes to get it.
Yeah.
And Figaro's genius, the wisdom of the plays for sure, and the wisdom of Figaro is that he will do anything to just keep his head above water. Which is why I think it's for my money playing both the Barber of Seville and playing in the Les Notes de Figaro. The joy for me as the artist is that you have all those types of people in the audience. You usually have the aristocrats towards the front of the audience laughing, everything's so funny. And then you have some people that are like first timers that are maybe a little more akin to like what Figaro's going through, going like, I totally get that. And we're all together, you know, and the thing about Beaumarchais, and certainly the thing about all the artists that have ever played these parts, and the musicians and everybody that's ever been involved with these shows, is that everyone sort of gets everybody at the end.
Yeah.
Right? It's this unbelievable accumulation of the human experience that's wrapped up in this comedy. It's dead serious.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But as far as friendships are concerned, I mean, I think that the Count's a little bit jealous of how smart and free he is. I think Figaro's a little bit jealous of just this financial security. Because the thing with Beaumarchais, the reason he wrote these plays is because he was never terribly secure. And even when he was secure, it was almost all taken away from him, if you read his biography. So, like, there's this wonderful wealth of just the human experience that comes out of it.
Yeah, and this story will always be applicable. There will always be this circumstance, and especially now. I mean, in the era of Me Too,
I was just going to say,
right?
it's certainly an important time to be performing.
I think
this work.
actually all three of it. I say this glibly. I've been saying it a lot because we're doing The Marriage of Figaro, Rigoletto, and Carmen. It's the season of men behaving badly.
Yeah.
But frankly, it really could not come at a more auspicious time with everything that we're going through in society right now.
Well, and those three operas indicate that these things have always been happening. And that the whole purpose of coming to having an artistic experience as either a performer or a theater goer is to be reminded that all of this happens all the time, forever, and it will never go away.
Yeah.
There's no Me Too is awesome. I'm personally hip to like what's going on. It's not going to go away.
No, it's not going away.
It's not going to go away. It's just and more really cool art's going to come out of it.
Human
More
beings
stories.
are human beings.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
human. The nature of the human person is not going to change.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But this particular piece in this particular time period it was written was so pivotal because, you know, the American Revolution, the Enlightenment, all of these ideas were coming together, and this became a kind of a symbol for the time. And we know what happened afterwards.
Yeah, and you know, I think for anyone watching your podcast that's coming to the opera that doesn't know that Beaumarchais, the guy that wrote these plays, had a major hand in the American Revolution.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, made a major contribution. So I love that American audiences are listening to this Italian opera written by a German. Or you know, and having this experience that's really universal, and very few people, except for the very well read in opera, understand that. I mean, Beaumarchais' daughter came back to the U.S. Congress after he died, asking for like $2.5 million back of Beaumarchais' own money that he spent on our revolution, and our Congress told her to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, so like it's all these wonderful things.
It's an extraordinary story.
It is indeed.
Well,
it's also a big gift for the performers because these are human characters. These are normal men and women. And usually beforehand, opera, we were playing gods and recreating myths, and these are relatable humans fighting for
real human beings, flesh and blood folks, just like the people that are in the audience. Well, and not to mention Lorenzo da Ponte, who did the adaptation, and then he himself also ends up in the United States,
buried in Queens,
founding the first Italian opera house in New York City. fascinating from
Right.
every standpoint.
He lived in Dresden, actually, where I was working for a long time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hung out
That's
with
right.
Casanova.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
think about how this, and it's not that long ago. I mean,
Yeah.
to think that he
Yeah.
was just
It-
here.
It really is
Yeah,
extraordinary.
Yeah.
it is. It is indeed.
I'm going to ask a musical question, one final thing. We always say, those of us who are in the business, particularly about an opera like this, but I think all three of our main stage operas this could be applied to. The phrase is, it's all in the music, right? It's all in the score. Can you think of a moment in each of your roles where that just really makes sense to you, that it comes to you, that there's something in the music that that Mozart lays down that maybe the audience might not be aware of, but you have become aware of because of your study of your role?
I think there are actually a lot of those moments because it's such a brilliant marriage of text and music. But I think probably Figaro's first aria comes to mind quickly, where we've got this ironic minuet. The music sounds happy, but underneath it is this biting vow that he's saying that he will overthrow the count, and that he won't let him have his fiancée. And that, that's the great thing about this piece, is it's masquerading as a comedy, but really it's some of the deepest human drama.
And the minuet is supposed to be a courtly dance, and
Yeah.
he's not a member of the court, right?
Exactly.
How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I had the pleasure of singing Figaro in this opera the last time I did it. I've sung the Count many times, and for me, it's the marriage. It's how close Count and Figaro are musically. Our range is relatively similar. The Count's actually, for me, a harder sing, in part because the music is so. It's. I feel with Figaro I can be lighter, because he's more quick, whereas the Count's more dense. It's harder. That second act finale starts with the Count, and you don't get off the hook until the end. Plus, you've just sung a trio, and you've had all that rested.
Yeah.
Figaro has a huge rest in Act 2, but like other than that, he comes kind of, and it's
Figaro's actually difficult for a different reason for me, because the pacing is interesting. You sing a lot on the front end of the show, and then you kind of have little bits up until Act 4, when you come in again, and then you go hard until the end.
yeah.
From a rage aria all the way through the finale.
Right.
So yeah, it also presents its challenges.
I love
but I haven't sung the Count yet.
I love the
decided to.
insecurity for me as I continue, and Stephen Lawless is just a genius at finding these moments where the music and the way Stephen sort of thinks of the Count exposes how vulnerable he doesn't know that he is. Like it's all this cocky sort of bravado that Stephen wants out of me. This like, I know, Countess, what you're up to, and I know all these. I've got this. This is my house. And you listen to the music, and as I'm singing it, I used to play him. The last times I played him, I play him pretty angry. And Stephen's like, no, like there's this smile, and I love that, and it's changing.
Yeah.
This is how.
that's so cool.
This is the nice
That's
thing
great.
about being a kid being in opera now.
Yeah.
Because you get to act.
Yes.
It used to be like, it was all in the music, and like all the old timers, they're like, I just want to hear people sing beautifully, and I'm like, I don't really care. Like, I mean, I think that's certainly a great part of it, and you should be like able to hack it vocally, but I want to know that someone has taken that understanding of what's in the music and enlightened that to a drama that really uses all of the facets that we're capable of. Bringing.
Well, and all these great opera composers were composers of theater music.
For sure.
I can't believe that they would for one moment stand still just for a beautifully sung performance.
Right.
They wouldn't have written your characters as carefully and beautifully as they would if they wanted just simply beautiful sounds.
Yeah, that's why we have the Countess.
There you go.
To sing, just so stand there and just give us two of the greatest moments in opera history. Same with the Queen of the Night. She doesn't have to run around, and that's great.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, Mozart did that, I think, in a way, obviously, that no one ever has. He gives us all of the textures we need to make just absolute drama, and then he also gives us those moments. It's very much like church. He gives us that time to reflect, to really come back inside of ourselves and listen. But otherwise, it's like there's a whole bunch of. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I think that's it's going to excite many people in our audience about coming. We're already selling tickets like hotcakes, so get yours.
Yeah.
And thank you again for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
Thank Thank you.
Thank you.